right, thank you again, guys, for coming to the first In the Duffle Bag live podcast. And we are honoured to be joined by the two-time champ, Mr. Anthony Joshua.
Yeah! Two-time! I know AJ wants to just rap right now, innit? I know it. I can smell it on him.
Run the beat back.
I can smell it on him. What are you saying, bro?
All good. Everyone looks comfy.
Bro, we spoke.
Yes.
We spoke, man. When we had the conversation before, you had a big fight. And obviously, with having such a big fight prior, naturally there has to be like, I don't know, that pressure on your shoulders, like, you know, you're consumed by what you've got coming up. Now that it's all gone, how do you feel in that sense? Are you still like, do you feel like there's been a weight lifted off your shoulders, so to speak?
Do you know what? Nowadays, there's no weight that can be lifted off your shoulders. I think there's so much going on in general. WhatsApps, emails, messages, DMs, Snapchats, all of that stuff. You're trying to be on top of everything, getting back to people and stuff like that. So now we just talk about boxing, away from family life, structure of business and all that stuff. So boxing as a whole, it just merges into all the other stresses that I deal with.
Yeah.
You know, it just merges all in one. So I just stand strong. It's tough.
Yeah.
Proper tough. But I just walk through it. Like when I took my loss, I kept on going. And even when I won my last one, I'm going to keep on going. So I never get fazed by boxing as a whole. It's just part of my life at the minute. Unfortunately, it don't last forever. Yeah. And in about 7 years, I should be moving on into the next phase of my life.
I would think when I'm looking at like somebody going into the ring and about to fight and do all of these type of things, and you've been preparing for it for so long or whatnot, you just think, you're going to walk in every time with supreme levels of confidence. But one thing that I see a lot of fighters talk about sometimes is sometimes that nerve that you have leading up into a fight or whatnot. So after you've had that and you've come away from it and the fight's done and stuff like that, surely there must be that thing that is like...
that release.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So that's what I thought with my last fight. It's all about the morning after. It's like a test. You prepare for so long, you do your test, but we find out our result there and then. We haven't got to wait a week so they mark it. We find out there and then. So for me, it's all about the morning after. So that's my test. So that release, I've experienced it on both ends, winning and losing. And they were so close to each other in terms of being back-to-back. So the release last time was, I knew I needed to make some changes, but I didn't make any excuses. I put myself back together in a short space of time. And the second one was, the release was more like all my boys, all my family, and my true core supporters. I don't really say fans and stuff because I don't really believe in fans. I think people support you because they can relate to you. So like people who can really relate to my journey, I wanted to win for us. It's easy for people to assume that a lot of our generation these days are weak. Like one failure, like if I drop walking in here, it's like the Instagram, people don't want to make no mistakes in life these days, you know what I mean? And it's quite weak-minded, so I just wanted to show the resilience of our generation, and that was a release.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You're right, like people are scared to take a loss, and I think a lot of it sometimes can be just what comes with it, especially when you're a famous person or whatever. You have to deal with social media and all of these type of things. And like, I had kind of felt like at times a lot of people had turned their back on you and stuff. Yeah. Now that you've come back and got the W, have you kind of noticed that the pendulum swang another way? And how do you feel about that?
I don't even notice it because I don't think I'm like a famous person. Remember, I come from an estate where there's like 50 kids. Growing up, I'm 30 now. I know thousands of people.
You're famous, bro.
Nah, G.
He's famous, bro.
Nah, I'm not really into... Well, the difference is, right, I'm not shy of people. Yeah. So that's the difference. I think famous people, they act famous because they're scared to interact with people that they don't know. Fame is like distancing yourself from reality, I think. That you think that you're different from most people. I'm not like that. So I don't know. I'm not really into all that fame stuff, to be honest.
When you guys spoke before, one thing that I loved was you touched upon how you feel like your boxing career is changing or you moving in a new direction.
Yeah.
So you said that initially it was about family and sort of focusing on your family, but now you're looking to go back to community and sort of give back that way.
Yeah.
How has that changed since the fight in December? Have you been able to go back and put it in the motions, or?
To be fair, you're right. It's a good question. I have been, to be fair, because I think sometimes in life you got to like truly commit yourself to something, and that's what I've done. I spent my youth like proper committed to boxing, and then you miss out on a lot of stuff, but it's all good. But then when you reconnect, it's nice because people still respect you for who you are. So I'm slowly starting to rebuild. But in terms of like giving back, there's so many things. There's so many things out there that I'd love to give back to. Like we go to, I don't know, there's loads. One of the things I like is going to prisons, because it's supposed to be like for reforming people, and they're like the forgotten generation to a certain degree. Some deserve to be where they are, some don't. Some learn while they're there. I think single mums, it's important to help. I think also like kids. So you know when kids leave school at 3 o'clock, and then if you think about it, that's where recruiting youngers comes through, because let's say a kid leaves school at 3 o'clock, he hasn't got nowhere to go to, his mum can't leave work because she finishes at 6 o'clock, so then the kids are just roaming around, and that's where opening like centres where youth clubs are important for kids to go to, so parents can still work, pay the bills, kids aren't roaming around. So there's so many things I want to give back to. That's how everything's all formed, is me and you come together, have conversations, sit down, decide what we're going to achieve, and then go and conquer what our plans are. And then through that, you find like-minded people. Then a 10-man organisation turns into a 30-man. Then you've got a whole association of people that have the same mindset. It's as easy as that, but at the same time, it's as difficult because everyone knows how tough it is in this climate, right? There's so many things that you wish you could do, but the way the world's set up is that it keeps your mind bogged down on just trying to get yourself out of your own rat race.
You may not feel famous, but there's a lot of people out there that know you. Obviously, what you got to do is how much followers has Anthony Joshua got on his Instagram, by the way? 6.4 million, yeah. So obviously, yeah, there's like a few people in that know you and whatever.
Is everyone following me in here, by the way? Hit me up, Anthony Joshua, yeah, if you're not following me.
How has your life changed in the sense that, like, obviously, naturally, finances and stuff like that and all of these popularity and whatnot, but do you think a lot about how things was in your amateur days and whatnot? And do you ever try to, not just even in like the aspect of your boxing, but just personal life and that, just try to connect strongly back with how it was before the... Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm still there. I'm still like roots. Like... So like I'm gonna go to Nigeria soon, right? To do to connect with certain people, and they're like, "Oh, you've got to meet this governor, and you've got to meet." I'm like, "Nah, take me to the ghetto."
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not really. Yeah, because that's where like the person who's running $1 billion company don't need no inspiration from me. You know what I mean? But the person who is trying to get out of their situation that needs some support may need some inspiration. So like yesterday, we linked up with all my boys from where I grew up. Not all of them, but we link up with all my boys from where we grew up, and we all talk about the old days. And it was only like 10 years ago. So still well connected, still well respected.
I see that still.
And that's the main thing. And I haven't distanced myself so far from what's real, in my opinion. But maybe one day when I'm like 40 years old, 45, I might start flexing a bit more. But at the minute, it's gutter, it's grind season. My head's like screwed on and my feet are on the ground because I just know I can achieve a lot in this one life I live. Anyone can. And I definitely put my mind to it. I'm a proper thinker. Like when I really think about a process and put my mind to it, I know I can do it. So that's what I'm trying to achieve, new things this year, like everyone, new year resolutions and stuff. And nothing's going to stop me.
What are your resolutions then? I think like small ones as well, like the silly ones. But then also, what's your big goal for the year?
Normally, we're kind of just bulldozing through the year. Like anything that comes our way, we're attacking. So it's in a blessed position now where there's a lot coming in and creating more of a structure. Organisation creates time. So every quarter I have quarterly meetings, vision planning, for the company, personal vision plans for what I want to achieve myself. And it just creates more time to then free my mind up for other things. But the same old G, nothing's changing within myself. It's just that I think the more time I have mentally, the more I'll be able to think of other stuff. So I'm just trying to create more time by creating a more structured process in my work life, which will free me up to work on myself.
Anthony Joshua is a boxer, but Anthony Joshua is also a businessman and a business. Like, you are a business. Yeah. Do you see yourself like that, actually? As you just as a business? It's mad to think about it like that. Fam, you're a business. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Does everyone understand or not? Yeah? All right, like football. You join a football club, basketball team. You join a legacy. So let's say, what's your team?
It's mad. I'm Manchester United. It's mad.
Manchester, yeah? Good team?
Nah, it's dead. Just
Dead?
don't beat around the bush. Dead. Dead. Go on.
So how long have they been established for? Since?
Oh, God knows how many years. Years. A long, long time.
Yeah, well before me and you were born.
Oh, of course. Like.
So you got to understand with a brand, even JD, how long were they established?
Specs?
81. 1981.
1981.
So Specs was alive then. I wasn't alive at that stage, yeah?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that joining JD, joining Manchester United, you join a long heritage, a long history. Now, with me as a brand, why I got to sell myself and understand and educate myself and understand the rules to the game is because Anthony Joshua comes along today and I've got a shelf life. So I've got to build myself, build my business, build my value before I stop boxing and I go into my next life. So that's why it's important to be business-minded as an individual, because I am my own brand at the minute.
How much does that play onto your mind when you have a fight? Because although Anthony Joshua is a boxer, you are more than just being the boxer. Because you are. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So with boxing, fighting was never hard for me.
Yeah.
Fighting was never hard. I used to get beat. Benga here used to beat me up when I was a kid. So you get tough. Do you know what I'm saying? My cousins would beat me up.
IG, you know.
Yo, look at him, bro. I'll wrap you up as well, Chuckie. You know what it feels like. So I used to get beaten up by my cousins and stuff. So then you learn to fight back. And boxing was never hard. But knowledge is relative. You have a great doctor, a great lawyer, a great scientist. No one knows everything in the world. Every person's knowledge is relative to what they do. I was more of a Jack the Lad growing up. I knew about a different hustle. So that's where my knowledge was based, but didn't relate onto the real world. So why business became so interesting to me is because imagine like I walked in the gym and then 3 years later I'm at the Olympics. And I never watched sport growing up. So now I've got all these businessmen now that have been to private school, been to the best unis in the country. None of my family care about sports. So they're sitting with me and I'm now discussing business with them. So I'm now having to fight my corner as the Anthony Joshua brand. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm my own brand representation. So I had to learn the intricacies of what being a businessman was about. So as I sit in the gym was one thing. When I used to leave the gym, it was a whole nother business realm, which I thought the business world was a lot harder than fighting. That's why sometimes in my career it's been tough, because I'm fighting the best of both worlds. But now I've created a great team, people who I trust, people who my partners trust, and I can focus solely on being the best version of the boxer I'm trying to be right now. And that's the blessing. I've gone through like a lot of turmoil times and tough times, not just in boxing, but in the business world, that naturally affect what I do in boxing.
Of course, the win or loss or whatever.
Yeah, trust me, it's tough. But it is what it is, and now I can just focus solely on my boxing.
You mentioned then when you go on to do something else, and it's like, what do you want people to remember your brand by? What would your legacy, when people look back and think of Anthony Joshua, what do you see them envisioning?
Everything's relative, so when I'm older or whatnot, it's going to be a different answer. I think everyone wants to be respected. I think everyone in here deserves respect, so I'd like my own respect, like everyone. I think that's important. But what does respect mean, and what do you have to do to earn it? So that means, what do I want to be remembered by? Doing good by others, standing for what I believe in and not caring what anyone else thinks. I think people don't appreciate at the start when you believe in something, but later on in life they think, you know what, he was solid. He stood for what he believed in and I respect him for that. So I think it's always important to stick by what you believe. And with boxing is being smart because we get punched in the head a lot, no one thinks we've got brains. And no one thinks that our brains will even last, even if we've got brains. So people are waiting for you to kind of get dumbed down so they can take advantage of you and stuff like that. So it's just about staying on top of your game. The overall riding rule of what I'm trying to achieve is respect. Because then my little cousins, my little boy, my little nieces, if the world don't respect me, then they're going to be looking at me like, nah, my uncle was a waste man. He fell off, do you know what I mean? Or my dad was a waste man. So it'll be better if they say, yeah, my dad or my uncle's got respect. And when I'm talking now, I want them to sit down and listen and take some of my advice and stuff. So it's important, respect, in my opinion.
After the fight, when you put the video out with your son, I love the whole message behind sort of when you lost the first fight to Ruiz, there was a whole period of people sort of that not cancelled you, but like, do you know what I mean? They turned on you in a way.
I'm gonna cry.
Online, on Twitter.
Yeah.
But then obviously, Road to Redemption, won the belts back.
Yeah.
And I think you doing that video sort of, well, for me personally, so I'm assuming it happened with quite a lot of other people, it kind of showed a different side to it, which I didn't think about. It's like the message to your son.
Yeah,
it's like a good example to your son, your nieces, things like that,
important.
which I didn't initially think about. When you posted that, I was like, do you know what? This must have like been your primary focus the whole time.
So what's the message behind the loss? Like, it's like, I want respect. What is the message behind getting respect? I took my loss. What's the message I want to send through it? Now I've won. What's the message? If you can always turn your life situations and use it as a message, then it has more meaning. Because if it's just about the win, done now. Quote that one for me.
Yeah, I like that one.
But yeah, it just and that guy who made it, someone made it on. He just ripped off my Snapchats.
Oh really?
Yeah, some random guy just ripped.
You'd had it like professionally.
Nah, that's it's more organic, I think, when it's not always professional.
Yeah.
So he just ripped it off my Snapchats and put it together, and it was just on Twitter, and we just kind of took it, you know, when you screen record it, and then just posted it on my socials. But I had it before, but I was like, don't post it yet, let me win first. You know, I was like, let me win before we post it, and I got the W, and that was the message, as you said. It's about there is meaning. It's going to be tough, and you can't be weak. You can't make one mistake and then give up. You're going to be embarrassed. It's not going to go your way, but it's what it is. And even if I lost the rematch, I would still sit here in front of people and show my face. It's not the end of the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is testament to your character as well. It is quite annoying that people maybe make it seem as though a loss can just define your whole career. I don't feel like it ever used to be like that, but now, I don't know, social media just does what it does. But what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was just your overall experience personally, not like professionally, but just like your time in Saudi Arabia. And also, you know, Els asked you about your legacy and stuff like that. Do those sort of steps where you go out and you do something which in the beginning to a lot of people would have seemed like, wow, that's a bit outlandish. Like, do those type of things kind of like add to the legacy of what it is that you're doing? And could you see yourself now, you know, going to all other different places a lot like that, where it's almost alternative to fight? For example, Africa.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, I had to fling that in there. You know what the maddest thing is? I'm Jamaican, but it's mad. But
I was there the other week.
I know, Destiny Villa in that, innit?
Yeah, I feel like I'm... actually have an honorary passport for Jamaica. The way I rep Jamaica.
I hear that. You had Beanie Man come to your yard in that one time.
Everything, you know what I mean? Yeah. I love Jamaica. You know?
Couple lyrics and that with Beanie Man and that.
Bro. Where's the beat, DJ? I'm joking, don't start. But Saudi, different things. It's interesting. Well, it definitely had an impact. So I was speaking to my friend in the gym today. You know, Muhammad Ali, I rated him as a boxer, but what I rated him for is the things he done outside the ring. It's hard because, listen, the most important thing for me to do is be beating people. That's all that matters, really, innit? That's the brand. If I'm winning, people are listening. That's what's important. But on the other side of it is that when you build up a following and you get supporters. So you have an audience now, so you can start relaying a message. Some of it's got to be organic as well. So let's say we want to go to Congo, not as a fight yet, but the arena or stadium that Muhammad Ali fought in, it hasn't been visited by no heavyweight, no boxer has been there.
It's mad.
Yeah, and they're going to build a statue. So we're in talks with I'm trying to meet the Congolese president to see if I can pattern that. And yeah, that'll be part of the legacy. No heavyweight, Mike Tyson or Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, as a current heavyweight or former heavyweight, hasn't made the journey over to Congo to see such a historical place in boxing history. So that'll be nice. That's part of legacy. Connecting sometimes is more important than doing it as a big event to generate revenue. It's not always just like business. Sometimes it's just about connecting with people, and that is just, I don't know, the value in that sometimes outweighs just what sits in your pockets, in my opinion.
I think it was a few days ago you met the Nigerian president, right?
Yeah. Any Nigerians in here?
I went there the other day, you know.
Yeah.
You put up like a really good quote, and it was about being like
Humility.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Would you do that for the Nigerian president?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, what? Oh, wait. Give
You were on the
context.
floor, wait.
Give context when you went on the
There
floor.
was a photo,
Yeah.
and you were lying
All
on
right.
the floor.
My mum was like, "Get on the floor." I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
You know
Yeah, just for people who don't know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
to them exactly.
So that's like, you got the president, but in the culture, respect. That's it. To be fair, you asked me what it means to me. Respect is massive to the older generation. Yeah. So I think respect is important, and that's not about meeting the president. That's about the man's like 76, so he's my senior. So I have to show him a level of respect. So in different cultures, like shaking hands is a form of respect.
Bowing.
Yeah, bowing is a form of respect. You know, in Jamaica, it's like, "Well, go on, my brother." That's a sign of respect, you know.
Thumting.
You're thumting.
Yeah,
Well,
come
go
on,
on,
man.
bro. Yeah.
Right
I had to learn that still when I was out there. One press and all that. Yeah.
Up top.
Up top bars.
Outside.
Word bars. Sorry, let me say that. Any vibes, DJ? Any vibes, cartel? Free the world bars.
Oh.
Anyway. All right, let's bring it back. Before we never get booked. We'll never get booked again for the shady event. So respect is important for sure, and it shows the youth as well. Like, or supporters or fans or whatever you call them might be thinking, "Yeah, big AJ, you don't bow to no one." But I'm not too above my station to know who I am, understand culture, and respect it as well. So that was important for me to follow my mum's footsteps as well, because that's the woman who's raised me. Do you know what I mean? So that's what that was about, to be fair.
What happens as well, again, just like, I know it seems like social media gets a bit of a battering sometimes, but it's an amazing place too. But what it is sometimes, yeah, it misses out nuance. So for example, because there was that same thing with WizKid, I think he saw a president or whatever it was, and he did the same thing.
Did he?
He literally just dropped all the way on the floor. He was like spread out on the floor and whatnot.
Certain man was saying, was I trying to do a press up?
Oh, yeah.
You know the ones?
Looked like it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't like
From
flat.
the photo, you were kind of like...
But people are thinking, like,
Yeah.
when they're seeing it, they have an opinion because they think, oh, like, why is he just, like, falling on the floor like that? But to me, when I see it, I'm like, instantly I see the respect. But also, I think when you see somebody with that level of fame as well, like WizKid is an absolute superstar.
Yeah.
When he does it, it shows you how much respect is seen out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the world's a big place. Like when I was on my estate when I was younger, you never see past your local shops, do you know what I mean? Or when you're a kid, you're never allowed past your local shop. So when the new family that have migrated to UK from a completely different country come, they have their different ways. So we growing up in England, I might not understand their ways, but there's a big world out there of so many different unique people that you have to respect and appreciate their ways of life. So the blessing is for me, and the curses as well, is when I go around traveling with boxing and stuff like that, I've seen so many different cultures at the highest level. Do you know what I mean? And one thing I know is that these kids and adults know where they've come from. So one kid, we went to visit a school in Saudi. This kid was like to my friend that was with me. He works with us, so he's in the company, yeah? So the kid was like, what's your name? And my brother was like, what's your name? And he's like, I know my name. What's your name? So he was like, my name's David. He goes, what's your name? He goes, this is my name. So he said to David, do you know what your name means? David was thinking, I ain't got a clue what my name means. But yeah, I know what my name means. And he goes, what does your name mean? He goes, my name is my heritage. And I have to know who I am to know where I'm going in life. And this was like an 11-year-old kid, because they understand their culture, their respect. And David had to respect that even from an 11-year-old kid. So respect is important. That's what they do in Nigeria, in the Yoruba tribe. That's a way of greeting someone. It looks to the naked eye like, what the hell is he doing on the floor? But it's important to have a level of respect for everyone you meet in order to get that back in life. Sometimes I think having good character and a bit of respect can take you just as far.
We could go to the audience. Does anyone have a question for AJ?
We have questions, yes. Are you going to run or shall I?
Yeah, I'll run. We'll go here first.
So AJ, we know that you're a big Watford fan and you're friends with Troy Deeney. Has he ever invited you down to a training session, or have you ever taken him to Finchley to do a bit of sparring?
So he's never actually invited me down to Watford, but he's actually been down to Finchley a few times to do some training. I love football, so I'll definitely take the opportunity up if he invited me down. And he loves boxing, so the door's always open for him if he wants to come down again.
For me, I look at you, I see the growth from 2012 and even beyond there. Like, I see the boxer, the philanthropist, the brand, everything. But what do you do to kind of pull yourself away from all of that and kind of have some AJ time, man?
It's a good question. I don't know. There's never well, go on holiday maybe. But then that's time for your family. But that's what I said. Maybe when I'm like 40 and stuff, I'll just kick back a bit to myself. But at the minute, it's just pure grind mode. I'm just hustling, like proper. Just pure dedicated to the craft.
AJ, a lot of people in your world, Tyson and Deontay, have talked about going across to MMA and in particular the UFC.
Yeah.
Has that ever crossed your mind? And big shout out to your physio, Rob Madden.
Rob Madden, yeah.
And can you sign these gloves for me?
Yeah. Of course I will. No problem.
Cheers.
I respect what they do. I'm sure they respect what we do. And until I master this game of boxing, I think I'll be too old to cross over into MMA.
While you're where you are at, you don't want to be in a stage now where a man has to add a knee and an elbow and a
it's
headbutt.
long.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm battered and bruised from head to toe, like my body, my face. You know, I won't have an eye left if I get into MMA.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. You?
I just want to find out, are you going to fight Wilder this year?
He's got a rematch clause with Tyson Fury.
It's gonna happen at some point. I don't know.
Well, look, for me, look, when did I turn pro? I've had 23 fights. They've had 40 odd fights. Or they've been pro since 2008. I turned pro 2013. So like I come through with a strict goal to be the best that I can be. And wherever that takes me is better than where I started. And I think by going out there and constantly fighting champion after champion after champion shows at least to the person who hasn't got a clue about boxing, that geezer over there, he's definitely fighting decent fighters. So Wilder is a talented fighter, but he's just another fighter to me that I'd like to challenge. She's still not clapping for me.
Do you feel like she's like my man sent her here? Like, is that?
No, everybody in the States like you, and they just want to see the fight happen.
This is it, and I respect that.
Right.
Completely, and it will. I promise you. Before he's done, and before I'm done, I promise you, because it's like this, right? We're in the same era in terms of like, let's say the 2000 era, the same division, heavyweights, both got some belts, and it will be crazy for the history of boxing 1,000 years from now when everyone's not here for them to look back and say, right, them two never fought. It just doesn't make sense. So for politics or none, but for legacy and history, this fight will definitely happen, in my opinion.
Make some noise from our guy, Anthony Joshua, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.